Hello, hello.
Hello.
How are you this fine evening?
Great. What are you doing?
Hello, Luke. We've got our producer in the other room.
Yes, he's watching Supernatural, fucking with his AirPod.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I feel like you look really cute right now. And I meant to change so that I wasn't in frumpy.
I'm in my PJs.
Well, you look cute.
Thank you. I
think-
like your tracksuit. It's very adorable. It looks
it?
very comfortable. Yeah.
I feel like a frump.
That's how I feel all the time.
I feel like an Oompa Loompa. So far, all of our recordings, my hair hasn't been done. I have been in some type of sweats. Such is life right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to dress cute. Sometimes I still do.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. But
We
that's
try to
okay.
look like presentable humans sometimes.
Because it does make us feel better.
Yeah.
So yeah, how was your day, Nicole?
It was emotional. How was your day?
This is too hot. I just pretended like I took a sip.
I know mine is burning my finger.
I didn't want to look stupid for putting it to my mouth and realizing it was hot. So yeah, it was an emotional day on a lot of fronts. So if I just randomly break out crying,
It's okay. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
It's normal.
have I cried in all the other episodes already?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, that's.
At least in one or two of them.
I don't feel bad.
No.
I'm.
Feelings are valid.
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to talk about our day, or do we just want to like jump right in?
Yeah. Should just deep dive back into the timeline of things.
I went and was looking at my note because I had to talk to the lawyer today about things, and so I was like looking at the actual dates written down, and I was like, oh, we were actually wrong. So yeah, he was at ECMC 3 weeks. Then he was at Metro the first time for 2.5 weeks. Then he was at that LTech facility, the first one, for almost 3 weeks. And then back to Metro. And we went into that a little bit. And he was there for 2.5. And then same thing, insurance bumped him out of there. And he had to go to another facility. But they said that, oh, guess what? He doesn't get to go to one that was at the other level the other one was, because now he needs even less care. Even though his doctor submitted multiple letters saying, but he actually does need this. He just didn't meet their criteria for the main bullet points that almost no one in his with his injuries, people don't ever
With the
meet.
rare
Yeah.
cases that...
So they bumped him to this other facility, which, yes, it was in our neck of the woods where we live. It was minutes away. But would you just like to tell our wonderful listener what the doctor actually told us that first time the three of us had that meeting with him?
Yeah. So, all in all, we were only at this facility 3 days.
It felt like a lot longer.
It did. Because we were there 24/7. Because the doctor said, oh, no, we're not equipped to handle his level of care. You need to be here constantly to support the staff.
He literally looked
Don't leave.
at us and said, one of you has to be here at all times. Do
Yeah.
not leave.
Do not leave.
And I remember Anthony looking at you and like going, okay. And we had already gotten that impression
Yeah.
because of the way we found him in the hospital bed. Oh, that
When we
was-
arrived. When she arrived.
And that was the ambulance service and also
The
facility.
receiving nurse, physicians, it was a clusterfuck. They just dumped him on the bed. Didn't do anything. He was all cockeyed and shit. They didn't know how to work a tube feed for his peg tube. They
didn't have the tube feed that we use, the formula.
didn't have it.
They didn't even have it, which is supposed to be something that before they even accept someone, they look through their charts thoroughly. They had barely looked at his chart.
No, they didn't have his meds.
His meds weren't even there.
2 days.
Meds that were necessary.
Yeah.
I have never been... We said we would talk about who we were before compared to who we are now.
Oh, yeah.
But all of this has brought out a really different side of me, and they were the first ones that fully got to see that wrath from me. And then from there, so that was a couple days, and then it immediately led to him going back to Metro Glick. So he was there for 19 days, but they specifically at that point, the medical team, you know, they were already familiar with us the previous
times.
right? Like, and the ER visit. So this time they were like, he is absolutely not leaving us. We need to get him into our inpatient rehab facility next. He's not ready for it. We need to talk to our other teams that make those decisions, those doctors. We need to talk to you guys. We need to talk to him. We need to get him to where he needs to be. And we're going to do what we can to keep him here. And so that specific area within their building was the traumatic brain ICU, so the TBI ICU. And then they have a surgical trauma ICU as well. So he started on one side, went to the other, and then eventually what they do is they kick you out of ICU to a normal floor. And then his insurance wouldn't even allow that part. They wanted him to directly exit to go to one of these facilities.
Another shitty facility.
And the team there were like, absolutely not. He is not going to survive. He's not going to survive that. And your insurance won't even let us kick him to our normal floors, which is where we want him to be until he's ready to go to rehab. But they're literally not allowing it. We would not have been able to get there. So it was a huge victory when the doctor who was the decision maker in whether or not Luke would be able to get into their inpatient rehab facility was able to come and say, yep, he's ready. And that was, I remember sending you guys that text. I was so excited to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is
It finally happened. The third time is the charm.
And how many times did it take? It was that number three again. But so then he was at their inpatient rehab facility for 7 weeks. And we also, you and I, that was kind of the agreement, is when they came to us and said, listen, he's ready to go into our inpatient rehab. And we believe that he has a decent chance of a decent recovery in life down the road. It's going to take a while, but down the road. But it's only going to be able to happen with our expertise and our doctors, our therapists, and then also this unwavering commitment from you. And that's going to require you to step away from your job so that you can, train. You need to go to rehab, be with him every day, all day. You need to let the therapist teach you everything. They need to sign off that you are learning everything
and are fit to be able to take him home, because
to care for him.
We were not letting him go to another facility after that. We're like, nope, this is it. Rehab, then home. That's
so not only
done.
Did they need to have it proved to them that we were going to be able to give him that care, but also that when it came down for the state to come and look at things, that we would be able to pass that as well. And so there was no surprise to them. They knew that we were already at that point before he even got into rehab. Their staff, and just from the bad facilities, we learned a lot too.
Yeah.
We were already in a really good place. But yeah, so that took her and I literally being there every day for 7 weeks, all day, and all of his therapy appointments, non-therapy appointments. There's so many things.
Sorry, I'm having a foot cramp. Sorry, resume. I'm good now.
But so it was a whole bunch of mixed things there. That in itself, I feel like, could be a whole month's worth of episodes of just talking about that journey. But then from there, those 7 weeks, he was discharged home, and we've been here now for
almost 3 months.
Yeah. And so that's the timeline. And from what I understand, that's not how it usually goes. Usually people get dumped because of their insurance into one of these LTAC facilities where they either slowly fall back and end up passing away, or they just end up living out a very miserable life while the facilities collect the money and the insurance gets to pay the least amount possible. And so I can tell you that our eyes have been opened to a lot of things that we were just unaware of because we had never gone through it. And so again, that's kind of like the birth of this podcast, is just kind of creating a space to have that conversation, but also just validating other people that have had to go through this. Every state's different, but the system is the system.
Yeah. And unanimously, it's just so broken.
And there's no easy answer. There's no easy fix. We're not here to sit here saying we have this solution, but that's a quick snapshot of that journey. And yes, I have notes here. So the notes, but
so that's the past 7 months with Luke.
Yeah, and then
facility-wise,
home has been a whole nother thing. You had said this to him today, and I don't remember the exact wording that you used, but I liked it. Just that we've been fiercely protective of him.
Yeah.
And we've been like mama bears, and I've always kind of been the mama bear in the family with everyone, but it's been nice to have Nicole and Anthony also join that that label as well.
Yeah.
Because,
We're very overprotective.
but also there's so many things, and we don't have to go into all the details, but he sustained a lot of injuries. And for anybody that doesn't know about TBIs, so TBI is a traumatic brain injury, can happen multiple ways. Car accidents are the number one reason in America why people have traumatic brain injuries. And one of the symptoms that, you know, I would imagine in some way he'll be dealing with for the rest of his life is just sensory overload. And as neurodivergents, I think just as humans in general, it's very easy, whether people like to admit or not, that there's sensory overload. The world that we live in, it's more magnified than ever. But he definitely, because we know him so well, it's very easy to see when he's got sensory overload, whether it be across the board or in one particular area. And
yeah, whether it's a person, a group of people.
Music.
Yeah, music, light. It's a
Sound,
lot of
yeah.
different things. And on top of just having a TBI, he also had a DAI.
Yeah, so again, so many things that people don't know. And
Yeah.
we had researched that at great length. So when the accident first happened, we weren't getting a lot of answers to
Or
our
tests
questions
on-
or tests at the first facility. And so there was a lot of unknowns. And again, it's been mentioned, but Nicole and I are avid researchers and journalers. And so we literally were looking into everything. And DAIs was something that we very quickly, after started looking at it, knew that's what Luke had sustained. And it was terrifying.
Yeah, and just a brief,
Yeah.
what a DAI is a diffuse axonal injury. So you have axons in your brain that connect everything. And in a car accident, when there is the sheer force of your brain hitting your skull and then bouncing back again and hitting it again, your axons shear apart. So all of the connections that you have become broken, and your axons grow. We're constantly making new axons, and it's possible to regain function. You have to create new pathways, but you're starting over at ground level again. And there's different categories of it, and they couldn't tell us, oh, it's a 1, 2, 3, or 4, but it was moderate, so
moderate,
somewhere
so-
in the middle.
So they knew that it was pretty bad, and I had a social media post about it, but I will never forget this doctor. This is one of the first doctors that I felt like could actually see my pain, and I'm not really sure what else, but there was just this understanding and feeling held by him. And you could tell he was probably didn't have the best bedside manner. Out of everyone at Metro, I would say he was probably one that didn't have the best bedside manner, but in that moment he did, and it was necessary. But he said, you know, before I came in here, before I saw your brother, looking at everything and all the test results that we've done here over the last few hours, I was prepared to give you a completely different spiel. And then I came in and spent 30 minutes with him and some of the other doctors, and just seeing how he responded to you guys. And I don't say this often, and my colleagues will agree that I'm one of the biggest. He didn't give hope often.
No, he was very much a realist or a cynic even.
Yes. And science was everything. And he said, in my career, I haven't said this often, but your brother is rare. He is a miracle. There are unexplained things that happened here. What I'm visually seeing him do should not be possible today with what I'm seeing today with the test results that we did the past few hours, and then from the accident.
Yeah.
This should not be possible. So what I'm going to tell you is take what I'm saying with a grain of salt and believe and help him get better. And it was gut-wrenching because it was hard. I remember thinking, this is so hard to be dialed in and be present during this conversation because I wasn't in the room with Nicole and Anthony, and that's who I wanted with me. And so I felt alone in those moments. And there was a lot of other doctors in the room doing things, and I just wanted to be holding Luke's hand. And also, as soon as I heard him say D, I knew where he was going, and he had at that point already had the images on the screen and was showing me, and we had already looked at images. And so knowing what I was looking at and then hearing just that first letter, wanting to crumble, but also being like, I have to be strong. It's my only job right now is to be strong gather the information so I can relay it to the family properly, and then we can make decisions from there. So I was very grateful that he was very honest, and at the same time that he was able to admit what he was seeing was supernatural and uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a really sobering day for all of us, because me, you, and Anthony had those conversations of, if it's this, how are we going to move forward?
Yeah. And that was one of the thoughts where we just like pushed it to the back, because we're like, no, it's not. It's not that, because he's doing this.
Right.
Like, he's doing so
Yes.
much. There's no way that it is this. And then it is. And he's doing all that stuff despite everything. And being a fucking badass constantly when he physically shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, he is quite the miracle. And today I had a conversation with someone I had never met, but she's very generously donating things that were used. She was the caregiver to her mother for some time, and her mother unfortunately recently passed. And so she knows Luke and just other people that know us well, and wanted to just very graciously gift us these things, very expensive things that we'll definitely put to good use. And her and I just had a brief conversation today on the phone. She said, Luke is the 1%. He's a miracle. And I know that everyone's probably saying that. It's not the first time you're hearing this, but Luke is a miracle. He's the 1%. But I just feel like you need to hear too that you and your brother and sister-in-law are also the 1%. You are also miracles. So you're miracles to each other. And this is this awful thing, but you guys are really beautiful in the midst of it. And I was very emotional. I did not know what to say because here's this person who's going through their own grief, someone that understands what very few people can understand, what we're going through.
Yeah.
And just knowing that there's different layers there, and to hear that from someone who just also lost someone.
Mm-hmm.
But she said that this is a job that unless you do it, you can't understand. And she's like, I have so much love for you guys. And so that was a really beautiful thing. But it's easy to forget when you are in the midst of whatever the challenge is. So I'm going to get corny here. It doesn't have to be something to this severity. It could be something that compared to this may seem small to you, but it's not small. It's actually really, really big and important and hard in your life. And just know that you're not alone in it.
It's an impossible thing that's hard to describe. And even some people closest to us will never understand.
And we've changed so much. I just posted something on my story today, and I read it and I was like, oof, just like delete the old version of me. They're expired, and that's sad. We've talked about that so much, but that's let's go into that, who we were before.
Feels like a lifetime ago.
And I think it's spooky season now. You and I are both, you most definitely are a huge lover of this time of year.
It's my favorite time of the year. It's Samhain.
So yes, you love it for all sorts of reasons, but I mean, this time last year, every time this year, there's a lot of festivals going on within your life that you like to host and bring people into and have a great time and celebrate, and one of them being a costume Halloween party.
Yeah, that's always been my thing since we bought our house. And this is the first year where I'm not, and I don't have any desire to. I just want to do like a dumb dinner.
Yeah, so we're very different. I mean, I guess when you look at you, what are the biggest areas that you see that you've changed in ways that maybe bring you grief and in ways that also make you smile and be proud? What are some of the things that maybe you're not proud of?
I mean, I'm trying to do better with being proud of myself. So I'm trying not to let myself be as negative as I used to be. And especially where we're at in life, everything in my life, everything that I've done for a job or things that have occurred have set me up to be the person that I am now, to be a caretaker to him and to be able to be there for you and Anthony. And I'm super grateful for the things that I've done, and I never thought that I was good enough in the things that I did, but now I'm like, no, I pushed myself to learn, and it's paid off now. Because I've always been one to research things, and I've always loved brain stuff and heart stuff, and it's served me well now, even though I stepped away from it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you stepped away from it, but still such a big part of who you are, and you're so intelligent about it as well, and you do such a wonderful job of sharing that wisdom in ways that people like me can understand. My brain is different than yours. I think differently, I receive information differently, and I'm slower at processing things a lot of time, and you're very patient and know how to say things different ways until you see that I've comprehended it, which I appreciate, because not everyone is patient with me.
It was my job for a while, working at a primary care office. So the people that don't know, that are listening to this podcast, I was in the medical field for 10 years, up until like during COVID time. I was a medical assistant at a primary care office, and then the Cleveland Clinic bought our little primary care office, and then I kind of worked my way up to be like a department manager, and then it was a lot. I had a TIA in 2021, and then...
Tell people what that is.
A TIA is a transient ischemic attack, so it's like a baby stroke, which I was in OT and PT for 8 months after that, trying to regain my right side, and then had ARIA. Or no, that was 2020. Because then 2021 I had ARIA. And then what I wanted for my life was just different. I didn't want the 9-to-5 anymore. And my dream was always to own or run or work in a Victorian tea parlor. So it just happened that the woman who owned it moved in next to my parents. I got really close to her, and she's amazing. Ended up going to work for her, became like head chef, worked there.
I love that. I hadn't really seen you like bubble over with excitement over new creations and things.
Oh yeah, I was constantly
really cool.
making new things and having fun with it.
So good.
And all of us are definitely foodies, so that helps. And being home, I was like, oh yeah, I can make stuff and bake. I haven't done shit since we've been home. We don't have time.
Because all of our wonderful people in the medical, that have just the medical umbrella, that have loved us and cared for us and Luke, we have had these great intentions of bringing you so many goodies, because we both
can bake.
We can both bake and cook. So we have lists of what we're gonna do.
It still hasn't happened.
It will.
But one day it will.
Even if it's 5 years from now, it will happen.
We'll make him help us. That'll be his occupational therapy. He's going to fucking bake stuff with us.
It's like, okay, we're unloading the dishwasher today, buddy. This is your OT.
Yeah.
Okay, and so in that, it took you realizing all those hard things in your life, and even the good things. It was hard to know at that time that it was serving a purpose, and you always hear that. Mm-hmm. But even now, it's hard when you're in the hard thing to know if you're making progress, to think clearly, and to not have... You don't have truth ringing through your ears and your heart. It's a lot of...
It's a lot of questioning whether I'm doing the right thing.
And it's a lot of darkness and heaviness and feeling alone, whether you are or not. And same with all of the things that led you to being able to be equipped to care for him in the way that you are. Like, it was hard to understand any of those things. And then we get to that point and you're like, wow, it's weird.
Yeah. And then things just came back. It was like I never left. The universe wanted me to go back to the medical field. And like I always said that I would go back for biomedical engineering or something like that. And now I'm like, no, I really want to, because I can make some of this shit so much better than the things that they have for people like this.
And the way her brain works is so cool. And she's just like, again, it's wired differently, and I admire it so much.
Built
and
different.
Like, she just puts pieces together, and she's quick. I'm very slow and methodical, and she is just, with certain things, very quick putting these puzzle pieces together. Sometimes in my head I envision this Rubik's Cube. She's like constantly like this, and it's like, yes, I got it. And you're like, I was still lining up my pieces. Looking at the different colors.
No, but then I can spiral, and then it just, like, it's not a cube anymore. It's whatever fucking shape that I just made. Yeah, no. But you keep me in check. You help a lot to guide me so I don't fall off the tracks.
But yeah, so her brain just works so quickly to figure things out. And I think one of the things that I remember genuinely laughing about and be like, oh, we're going to have a good time. This is going to be really hard. He's giving her such a scowl right now.
A fucking response would be nice.
I think it's me. Are you looking at me?
No, he's looking at me.
I know, we're like, we can't see.
Are you okay? Can you put your hand up and go like this if you're good? Or give me a middle finger if you're not good.
If you need us, can you communicate to us, please?
I'm just going to go check real fast.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
So I'll keep talking because I'm good at that. You okay?
I'm going to get back in here.
You okay?
Oh my god.
So I'm not going to edit any of that out.
Oh, how did you do that?
What did he do?
The tablet just is closed.
The tablet is closed. He closed it. Maybe I'll edit this part out. I really don't know.
No, don't edit it out.
She's
Raw
telling
and
me.
real. We're caregivers. This is what
Look at
we
how
do.
pale I look. I look like I have no color. But so one of the times that I remember thinking like, oh, this is going to be really hard, but this is going to be really fun, is when we were at Metro the first time. It was great. There were certain tests that we knew we wanted, especially after they started giving us exactly, like, explaining to us the injuries that he sustained and what that meant long term and short term and whatnot. We wanted like a continuous EKG done on his brain because we were curious about very specific things. She was not there at the time when they were setting up the EKG, and I texted her and told her and sent her a snap. EEG, thank you.
EKG's your heart.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
See, this is why we need each other. And so she comes,
It's
like
close.
she was already on her way. And so she immediately looked at it, got her notebook, drew a diagram of where each thing was, started studying the monitor. And I'm like, oh wow, those are cool squiggly lines. Now, mind you, I've had quite a few done myself. I don't know what it's called, to call it the proper name, obviously. But so I'm just like, okay, cool. And so I'm later on looking stuff up, reading more about it so that when they come to us with the results, I am not ignorant. And she's snapping me at home that night. We should have been sleeping. And she's like, oh, guess what? She had written a book about it.
I
like,
drew
color-coded.
diagrams and everything.
It was a color-coded schematic.
I already knew which parts of the brain were like affected because of the EEG.
Before we even got the results from the doctor, we were talking about it in Snap because she figured. So yes, the way her brain works fascinates me.
It's so much fun. I've always been that way. I think it
glad.
is because my grandmother was in and out of facilities for 8 years. So like I saw all of it.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you what though,
it like lit a fire under my ass. I was like, I want to know everything.
Well, I'm grateful.
Me
Very
too.
grateful. We're still getting a look. I don't know if we're still having technical difficulties over there.
Are you good now?
Yeah.
I just got
Now you just want the tea. You want to hear what us bitches are saying. Yeah.
Are you happy that I have medical training?
He's like, oh, fuck you too.
We love you.
Okay, he's going back to his
It's supernatural.
program's show. What else would you like to share about who you were before, who you are now? What do you, if you had to say, I think this is a loaded question with a loaded answer, but if you had 3 big lessons that you've learned from this, what would you say they were?
From this specifically?
I mean, this whole last 7 months and everything that...
That's hard.
You can come back to it. We can
Yeah.
put on another episode. I don't want to forget that I asked that.
No.
Because I don't even have an answer myself. Because it's loaded. It comes with, for me, a lot of little side pieces.
Yeah, I think I'm still fucking figuring it out, honestly.
Mm-hmm. That's valid.
The old version of me needed to die to become this new version.
Mm-hmm.
And still trying to figure out who I am.
I've died so many deaths in my life, and I'm tired. I'm tired of having to bury her and to resurrect as something new. but that's life. And you said something today that, again, there's certain people that are going to roll their eyes and find it corny, but you and I are corny people, and we literally choose to find lessons in everything and turn it into something beautiful. And that's something I admire about us both. But you said something to me today, and I'm such a hippie that, of course, I ate that shit up. But it was such a beautiful fall October day that 70 degrees, we don't get that here.
Yeah.
You remarked that it's like the first Halloween in how long, that it's actually going to be a nice trick-or-treating for the kids.
Yeah.
But you looked at me.
It's about the tree, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that every day of my life, first of all, I have this obsession with trees. It's weird, you guys. It's weird.
You guys are going to think I'm weird for what I fucking said.
You said you looked at me. She looks... I think this is weird.
I feel like a tree.
But I feel like a tree. And normally... Let me say this. If I would have said that to her, because that's something Kristina would say. If I would have said that to her,
the fuck?
I would have gotten torn to pieces. The family Snapchat would have been blowing up. All the siblings would have had commentary.
No, but that's like you said. You roasted me in the sibling chat about the fucking plant thing.
I gotta give it back to you.
She has a plant holder. I didn't know that it was
a hanging plant.
A hanging plant thing. I didn't know it was in the sink. I just glanced and I was like, "Is there a noose on the counter?" It literally looked like a noose. So she took a picture of it and she's like, "No one, Nicole, is that a noose?"
And our siblings Snapchat, so that they could all laugh. But yeah. So
anyway, I felt like a tree today.
Yeah, like, where did that? First of all, for you to say something like that was different.
Yeah.
Because you don't connect that, again, that was a Kristina thing to say. I am very in tune and connect to nature in a way that really disrupt, like, people get weirded out by it. But,
I think it all the time. I just don't say it. Yeah.
Okay, so, okay. I feel a little less weird on my own then.
No, it happens all the time in my head. I just don't verbalize it because I've done it in the past and people have been like, "No, you're fucking weird, bro." I'm like, internalize.
Well, and you're such a pagan too. So, I mean,
yeah.
You naturally expect that, but talk about that. For people who are listening and they roll their eyes or want to hit stop right now, like Luke before, even probably now, he was outside with us and he heard it and he did not react to it. So, no. I don't know if he wasn't paying attention or...
Probably not, because I feel like I would have gotten an eyebrow raised, right. Like, who are you?
But tell people who are like, what the F?
So, I was just staring at the trees. The fall colors are beautiful, and it was really, really windy today. Yeah. And a breeze came by, and a bunch of leaves fell down, and I've blown that fucking deck up from leaves so many times. I have so many videos of her. Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm not. I have so many videos of her outside. She, even though we have one here, she did not know. She had her husband bring over
my leaf blower
because we have a lot of trees in and around our yard and our wonderful back deck. She needs to leaf blow it incessantly.
Multiple times a day.
Go on with your bad self, baby girl. If that is what makes your heart happy.
Anyway, please. I feel like a tree because they're dying, and what triggered it was Aria and I had a conversation the other day about the trees, and she's like, they're gonna get cold in the wintertime because all their leaves are falling off and dying.
Aria is your daughter?
She is my daughter. She is 3. She is wise beyond her years, which I'm not surprised by.
She's ridiculous.
But I'm like, the trees are dying. I was like, I feel like a tree because pieces are falling off to prepare for winter. Parts of you are dying and falling off to make room for new in the spring. And I'm like, I'm a tree. But I am stuck in a perpetual autumn right now, and everything's just falling and dying and sloughing off, and I'm just waiting for the regrowth.
I'm looking up something because I don't know when we'll end up airing this. So we keep a lot of things close to the vest, even just like... We're overprotective about information because we've learned that giving people too much information, they skew things, they change the narrative, and it just adds
to fit their own needs.
So much unneeded stress because people come at me with texts and calls and DMs, and I don't need to answer to anyone, but it's just like I find myself getting further and further away from social media because of that. But anyhow, we are very careful with who we give information to, and so I think it's okay to say this. I'll edit it out if we decide later or not, but so he's been doing outpatient therapy since he got home, and we knew the conversation was coming I thought I had prepared my heart for it. Turns out, when you got into that room for the meeting, I realized I was not prepared. But
No.
his therapists a couple weeks ago, some of them pulled us aside, and we knew. We looked at each other because they were like, "Can we talk to you privately?" And they went ahead in front of us to walk, and we just looked at each other. And again, we had this conversation several times, and we just looked at each other and nodded.
Yeah,
We're like,
we
okay,
communicate telepathically now, where it's like, no, we know.
This is the conversation that we've been waiting to have. And, you know, in my head, I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm prepared for this. But they basically, in a nutshell, said, and this is me paraphrasing it in a negative way, but what Kristina's heart heard, what her ego heard, was, he's a waste of our time.
Yeah.
And you have failed as his caregivers. That's what I heard. When in reality, it was, listen, he is struggling, what we believe is mentally and with depression. And that is causing him to choose to not participate when he comes here. And we just no longer are willing
To fight.
to fight for him if he's going to come in here and not participate. And let me tell you, it is frustrating. I cannot imagine being in their positions, because he did this a lot at inpatient, but his inpatient therapists had different relations with him and were able to work through different things. And we were different there for various reasons. We showed up differently in those places. But the amount of frustration they must have felt, because we knew that they could see his potential and that they believed in him. But they were continually met with, in some ways, defiance, in other ways, the TBI responding, right?
Yeah. And it's hard to know the line of what's you just don't want to do it today or you can't do it today.
And there's some days that we know. Tell, and there's other days
you
that
don't.
it's blurry. But they're actually telling us we're not going to do this anymore. And that doesn't mean it's forever, but we do think that it's in our best interest and his that we take a break and stop seeing each other. And it felt like a breakup, and it felt like the first breakup of Metro that we've had, and that was very hard for me. And something I really can't stand about myself is, if I am talking about something and I'm passionate about it or I feel some kind of way, I'm just going to cry while I'm talking. And I hate that about myself. And I started crying, and I was like, Kristina, get it the fuck together.
It's okay to cry sometimes. Everything's
but they were like
okay.
looking for tissues, and I quickly was like, all right, snap out of it, Kristina.
She sucked the tears back in.
I did. I was like, enough of the bullshit. Get back to business. Have this conversation. Get out of this room. Get your brother home. And so we both added our commentary and our thoughts and just said, thank you for your honesty, blah, 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 blah.
I just wanted it to be over with.
Yeah, we did.
I just wanted to get out of that room.
It had been an exceptionally hard week that week,
Yeah.
too. And just, it intensified being there and him refusing and then them doing that. And so I don't know where I was going with this story in particular, but that was the first time for me of being like, I already so much relate to nature, and I ebb and flow with the seasons. I believe that creation is there to teach us. It is our guide. It's our compass, our roadmap. And there's so many people that are just oblivious to it. But like, you look at nature, and how can you not see the resemblance that whatever created us, right? We have different beliefs, but we were created to mirror each other and to use that knowledge and wisdom. And for me, winter, I have always used it my entire adult life as a time to pull back and to winter within my entire body, mind, body, soul, spiritually, relationally. And
it's also bulk season.
Yeah, right. And it's bulk season. But I think it was the first time in this journey of being like, hard stop, Kristina. You have not been able to go about your connection with nature, to go through your seasons, because you've been so focused on this. You need to be winterizing yourself more, and we're going to help you with that. It was like the divine saying, no, a hard stop. And that was hard for me because one of the things that I've been asking myself in my journal is, am I so committed to stewarding this role and caring for him and helping him recover to the best extent he can because I'm so desperate to have him back? And that's so selfish, but we all need this time to fall and to break and to step away from everything. And so it was a gift, but a hard one to receive. And I'm trying to find of course, my phone is a butthead, but I'm trying to find it's this quote about wintering, and I'm going to keep looking for it. But it's so, when you said that today about the tree, I had been thinking about that since the appointment with the therapist of taking a break. It's just this pause that we need to have. And we're going to crumble a lot. We're going to be in the dark a lot. We're going to be cold. Yeah. And we're going to shed an awful lot. And it's going to be more painful than we want it to be. But yeah, so that's the corniness about the tree. And maybe other people out there feel it. Something I always feel.
It's also Samhain, and it's very much about death and the rebirth that comes in the spring after that.
And some people don't know what that, for the people who are like, what is she even saying?
So Samhain it's basically Halloween. It's not, but the modernized version is Halloween. So it's just honoring your loved ones that have passed and being able to try to connect with them, and I don't know. It's a time to reflect. It's a time to mourn losses, and the winter is when you take stock and you just kind of, exactly what you just said, that's Yule.
Yeah.
Is winterizing. And then in the spring, it's Ostara, or as people know it as Easter, and that's rebirth. Christians have Jesus being resurrected. It's a rebirth. Yeah.
And that is the exact purpose. And there's a lot of people.
It's the cycles of life, and you can.
A lot of people come after us for it, but it's, you literally cannot.
It's the cycles.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Even the way, like, plants, trees, whatever, they literally will shift their entire root system to be towards the light or to get to water. Like, you actually shift. Anyhow, I won't go down, but I found
we can go down that road a different time.
The quote. It's called Wintering by Donna Ashworth. You may think yourself lazy or flawed, yet your body is made of almost exactly the same elements as the stars. Your bone composition matches the coral in the seas, and you, my friend, are ruled by the moon and the sun, whether you like it or not. So no, you are not lazy. Nature is simply pulling you to slow like the life, floral, and fauna around you. It is not your moment to rise, it is winter. You are wintering, and you are right on time. And that's going to look different for everybody and whatever it is they're facing in their life. But when you actually allow yourself to pause long enough to look at the world around you and allow it to influence some inner change and inner reflection and awareness, and allow that to lead to change behavior, beautiful things are going to spring forth in that next season for you. But you have to be willing to allow it and to surrender. Like that word, it's surrender again. And so yeah, wintering is going to be different for us. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for sharing that bit about the tree. It made me very happy when you said that. And I was like, I looked directly at Luke to see if he was having a visceral reaction to it.
Yeah, he has a lot of visceral reactions to some of the things we say sometimes, and it's really funny because it's just a Luke thing.
It is.
And he looks at you exactly like he would have looked at you before.
And we love
like,
it.
Yeah.
We absolutely love it and that's one of the reasons we know he is in there. And there are so many things that, like, he and I did not align and see eye to eye on, but the respect that we had for each other was always there, and we could rip on each other and not take it personally. Probably sometimes I took it personally, and he did too, but same thing with you. Like, there were so many things that you guys didn't align and see eye to eye on. And
yeah.
But so the fact that there are times where he reacts the way he does to us, we're like, yeah, how's it? We know you're in there.
All of the sass.
So what else? I think too. I have a little note here.
Yeah, what notes do you have?
Oh, something someone said to me the other day. I've kind of just been sitting with it the last couple days. That's what I do. But also I did want to say, so we mentioned the other day, I think we were talking about it here, the pumpkin, right? The pumpkin muffin you were talking to me. We were just
Oh,
writing it
yeah.
down. So today when she came, she brought coffee because that's just what we need to start our days.
Yes.
Coffee and sex. Just
Necessity.
kidding, not really. But
Caffeine
so-
and orgasms are a
Essential.
necessity for life, for
Yes.
survival.
Yes, come after us, please. But she brought both a pumpkin muffin and a pumpkin loaf and just said to me, I brought this and I brought this, you can pick. I went and inspected. I'm picky. I'm picky as fuck, and it's annoying.
Yeah.
I apologize. But she knows me well. She brought me both. I inspected and was like, I've had the loaf before. It's good. It looks a little dry, not gonna lie.
It was dry.
But I was like, I could still smash some pumpkin right now. So I said, listen, can we split it? Because I did not want to leave her with a dry loaf.
I wouldn't have cared either way.
You could just pour your coffee on it. But I also wanted to enjoy the dry loaf if the muffin failed to meet.
How was did you enjoy the cream pie muffin?
She asks me now. It was good. I liked the dry loaf better.
Oh.
But what trumps it still, Versailles Cafe and
Oh,
Market.
there's
in
no-
Chesterland, Ohio. They have literally the best coffee. I have got her hooked and I love it. They literally
We go
have
on field trips once a week. We take Luke with us. We're going on a ride. We're listening to a podcast and we're going to get coffee.
A client of mine told me about this place when it opened because they lived near there. And ever since, I have been obsessed. Like, they
so
literally have the best. I've had coffee all over the place. They have the best coffee. And whoever makes the stuff, whether it be desserts or food,
I want to
mean,
know who their chef is that makes those things. The
It's-
fucking frosting on the pumpkin loaf is so good.
I literally have a bite left because, first of all, I'm slow at everything.
She nibbles all day long.
I think it annoys people.
There will be a plate on the counter all day. And there's it doesn't look like anything's missing, but if you really, really inspect it, there's the tiniest little corner gone.
And then I get full and I take a break and I come back a few hours
But then
later.
I left my fucking pizza on the counter that was half eaten, and not even 5 minutes after I left it, she comes in here, she's like, what is this? I'm sitting on the couch with Luke, she's like, what is this? I was like, I'm not hungry anymore, I took a couple bites to fucking eat your pizza.
Because it was unlike you.
I learned it from you.
So anyhow, is there still one bite of the Versailles pumpkin loaf with icing left? Because I did not.
That we both ate part of, so there's the fact that there's even any left is ridiculous.
It's the avoidant attachment style, and me avoiding that last bite so that I don't have to have it gone. I'm so messed up. So, yes, the pumpkin muffin and the pumpkin loaf were great from Starbucks, and I appreciated them, but nothing. You know what that sounds like, right? Because I don't know if everyone...
I got it all over me and just a little bit on the tip of the microphone.
That's where
That's what good pussy sounds like.
Yeah.
As I got it all over my blanket. He got cherry dip all over my blanket earlier.
We got him Dairy Queen. And yes, he did.
And then he
Sorry.
sneezed chocolate ice cream on me.
We've already said this, that we're dirty. And we just also go all over the place. But yeah, wait a minute. You didn't ask me how I've changed.
Because we went down like 5 rabbit holes.
So yes, the best pumpkin loaf, the best desserts, the best coffee, Versailles.
Yes.
Cafe and Market in Chesterland, Ohio.
Hands down.
They're just, mwah. I
Built
will say they are not super quick in there, but I like it. They take their time and you don't feel rushed in there. I'm sure while you're outside waiting in the car with Luke, you guys are probably like, what the heck is
Oh
she?
no, I almost fell asleep. The only reason I didn't is because he was holding my hand, he fucked with my cuticle. And he's literally taking his nail. Instead of picking at his own fingers, he picked at mine.
He's a fidgeter for sure. He always was.
And then to keep him from opening the door and trying to get
Out. He's impatient with that kind of thing. He doesn't like sitting when the car's not moving. So I love going in there because I do not feel anxious. I actually feel like an exhale. And so you should go if you're in the area. If you live around here or you're just ever visiting, you definitely need to check them out. I saw someone the other day, or recently, that I had not seen in a really long time. I mean, safe to say maybe 10 years, maybe even longer. I'm a very different person than I was 5 years ago, let alone 10. The people that know me know that I've gone through massive changes in my life, and I've been through a lot. But this person, just when we were leaving, we had spent some time together in a group. So they got to see me in my essence and who I am now. And I was just trying to be really intentional about being present where I was. I didn't necessarily not want to be there, but I wanted to be here. It's hard for me to enjoy myself outside of our bubble. And I just tried my best to be who I currently was. I wasn't trying to show up differently for them. But they said to me when I was leaving, and this person's not on social media to know anything that's been going on, and as far as I know, did not know this story. But he came up to me and he gave me a hug, goodbye, and then he comes back up to me afterwards and he's like, you know, this is weird, but I have to say it. I've been thinking this as the night's gone on, and I just don't want you to leave without me saying this, and it might be weird, but he's like, there is such a heaviness and sadness in you that I've never seen in the past. Like when I look in your eyes, I just see this sadness. And he's like, but there's something really special about you because you do not exude that sadness. I see it in your eyes, but you still only exude this pure light to people. And you bring a lightness. Like, he's like, this probably sounds weird, but I'll see you in the group of everyone. And I'm like, wow, she has so much heaviness right now, but she's literally the lightest, and just look at her lighting everybody up and bringing everybody joy. And I was like, I didn't know how to take that comment, and I had a long drive home. And so I was just thinking about that a lot of the drive of, I don't know what that means. And it's not for me to take one way or the other, but they ended it by saying, I don't really know what's going on in your life to cause that heaviness and that sadness that I see, but I feel like God is wanting me to tell you that you're doing a really good job and that you bring so much joy to people. People who didn't even know you were just touched by you walking past them and like the way you are with people. And I needed to hear that because lately I have felt very like a Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
It's hard to be around people and not have this be all consuming. It becomes your identity.
Yeah, because then people ask and then you go down a rabbit hole and then you're just right back here.
And sometimes I just, I want to be careful how I say this because I do not want people that I care about to take this in a negative way. But there's some of this that is so intimate that I will never trust with anyone else.
Yeah.
I will never, they don't deserve to have access to some of my grief and to some of my pain because I know that they will not hold it as sacred and they will not show up for me the way that I want them to or that I would for them. And so I just refuse. I put that wall up and I don't share that with people. So yeah, and I think that's maybe something I need to work on. I don't know that that's a good quality that I have, but yeah, I've just been sitting with that of how can I show up in the world outside of our bubble and allow both to be present at the same time, that grief while also just trying to extend love to people. because that's who I want. That's who I love being. That's what I feel like I was born to do, but I don't know. So it felt nice that this person recognized that, because I didn't even know anyone was paying attention. You know what I mean? Like, you don't realize.
It's
like,
nice when somebody sees something that, like, you're not trying to get people to see.
And it was a big deal for me being there.
Yeah.
I haven't done, none of us have done anything outside of this for the past 7 months. And recently,
or when we have, it's been a disaster.
I've taken 2 trips, which was huge for me to do. I almost didn't, and you were like, you're doing this. Because one was planned before and got canceled because of this. And so it was replanned, and that was just, it didn't go. There was a lot of parts of it that didn't go well, and I came home. At one point, I was ready to come home mid-trip, and you were like, are you okay? So in so many ways, it felt like I failed the person I was with. I failed myself. I failed you guys, because it's hard to know how to show up.
Yeah. Like, that was me leaving Lost Lands.
Yeah, and then you went to somewhere, and
I left.
that was a disaster.
It
was, but it wasn't, right? Like,
no,
you
it
needed
was
those experiences. But.
Yeah, I needed to go out there, put myself out there to figure out, hey, I'm not okay, and this is what I need to heal to be able to go back out there. But it's just the process of, I know what I need to do, but I don't want to do it.
I don't even think that it's you don't want to do it. It's hard to. Some days it's a luxury we can't afford because Luke needs us more. And I know that sounds really weird, but it's hard to learn the balance of how to give him and ourselves what we need, because he does require so much and we don't get outside help.
Yeah. It's hard to give your all to a person, but also to yourself, because you're giving all of yourself and all of your energy constantly.
And then having people outside that bubble have expectations, as they should, of how you're going to be. Like, you know, when you're with people, you want them to be intentionally present with you in that moment. And when you can't give the people, you know, like, you're at this festival, and one of the biggest, greatest things about those festivals is the connection in the community. And when you literally don't have the capacity and don't even know where to begin to do that, or it hurts too much, that's hard.
It was a weird disconnect, and I had already felt that once after this had all happened. I felt it once during the feast when I was away just for a weekend at home.
Yeah.
And was like, I feel like an imposter. I feel like I don't belong anywhere now. It's weird.
And we should wrap it up in the next few minutes, but I do briefly want to talk about that. I think that I want to say, we mentioned this in another episode, of just how we don't fit in. And I know that there are people, I will say, I won't speak to the people in your life, because we do have a lot of the same circles, but we also have circles outside of that. Mm-hmm. There are probably people in my life that have felt that they try to show up for me and I didn't allow them to, or maybe they felt like I didn't appreciate it. I've just changed so much. And I don't even know how to say this. I show up for people big. Mm-hmm. I don't let my personal life usually get in the way of the way I show up for other people. And I believe that's one of the reasons that I was created, was just to love people well. And I have prided myself on doing that, like just that. And I have not felt like there have been a lot of people that have showed up for me the way they could have, the way that I know I've seen them show up for other people. And that felt hurtful, but I didn't have time to deal with it because we were pouring into Luke. And I will always have love for people. I will never regret the time and the friendships I created with people, but I just feel like moving forward, there's certain chapters that have to close and end. Not because I have some ill will towards them, or I don't know, like negativity towards them. It's just that I'm not that person anymore, and I don't even know how to be around you.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I guess to any of those people that may be listening, I love you. I'm sorry. But I have to be who I have to continue to evolve.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means evolving apart from the people that you care about, and that's hard. But I can't go back to being who I was, nor do I believe I should.
Yeah.
So
It's hard to get people to rise up to meet you where you're at.
yeah. And so that may mean that I'm alone, friendless and partnerless.
You've got us.
Yeah, I've got you guys. I joke sometimes like that I may just end up being the cat lady because my life is so absurd.
We're just going to end up with one big house. Anthony has already said that.
Gosh.
He's never going to want to be without him ever again. We're just going to end up getting one big house and be codependent on each other for the rest of our lives.
No, we are not.
We're all gonna have our separate independence.
Yeah, no, we're gonna be healthy. We're gonna make sure of it. I mean, I know that you've joined that bandwagon as well, but I've never been someone, you guys know, I've always annoyingly gotten on you guys about your mental health and digging into your shadows and doing the hard work and stop, like, don't be a victim. Like, that's been my soapbox to all of us siblings for a long time, and so I need to listen to myself, take my own advice, and I'm trying. It's
hard.
It's very hard.
It's hard when you're exhausted.
And people don't understand. There's so many people that have opinions of how we should be navigating through this season with our mental health, our hearts, romantically, like,
it's like, oh, you just need this. This is your magical cure-all. It's like, if only that's how it worked with your rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, they have no idea. And yeah, I think that's something I appreciate about our siblings is they will literally be like, we have no idea. They're the closest to it, right? Like outside of us. They're like, but we really have no idea what you deal with on a day-to-day basis.
And they get glimpses, and then they're like,
oh my gosh,
how do you do what you do?
Yeah, and we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you. And that's been refreshing to have that because it could be really ugly. It could be not that. And it's nice to at least to have them not be the people who are like, well, you need to be doing this or this is how you should be handling it. So, Sibs, we love you. Thank you. He is about to throw your tablet.
Bro.
He's done.
It might have turned off again. Netflix was having some issues. Please don't throw my iPad.
We can wrap up this episode.
We're going to wrap up this episode so I can go get my iPad before he throws it on the fucking floor.
And we need to get him some meds and things, so it is that time. We will be
Good night.
back.
Love you guys. Thanks for listening to us ramble.
Yes, thanks.
And then next time, you're going to hear her talk about herself.
If we remember.
Yeah. No, I'm going to fucking write on a postie.
And then we'll lose the post-it.
Probably.
He's like, get over here. Alright, peace out.
Bye.
The Mushy Pod is co-hosted by Kristina Irene and Nicole Alyssa. Theme song is Discovery by Zaz Melomania. If you enjoy our podcast and want to support us, there are several ways you can help. You can contribute to our GoFundMe page to assist with our living expenses, as we've stepped away from our jobs to care for Luke and are currently a no-income household. Alternatively, you can send items from our Amazon wishlist, including out-of-pocket essential supplies and tools for Luke. You can find these links to those sites by visiting our MushyPod linktree. You can connect with us on Instagram and YouTube at TheMooshyPod and on TikTok at the.mushy.pod. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share our podcast with someone you think would love it. Thanks for listening.